Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Inner Path podcast. I'm your host, Bia, and as always, I'm really excited to be here. I'm particularly happy that I'm finally bringing this episode to the podcast because I've had this idea for a while, but it wasn't fully ready until today. I just had a download, and suddenly I had a bunch of ideas and a bunch of points that I wanted to present about this topic specifically, and I'm just really happy that I'm finally talking about it. You know, I'm big on self-love, and it's for obvious reasons. First of all, I didn't always love myself, quite the opposite actually. I used to hate myself so much, and that created a lot of depression within me. I was a very dark person, and I had really negative thoughts and very dark, not very rational thoughts. But I felt like I was in a kind of a depression. Maybe it wasn't diagnosed, but it was definitely there, and I felt very low, and I was in a point where obviously I didn't really want to be here. So that's how kind of low it got. That's how kind of dark it got. And now I get to look back and see that I've come so far, and I'm so proud of myself. And I know that a lot of people that are struggling with life right now, it's mainly because they haven't found love within themselves. Self-love doesn't just change the way that you feel about yourself, it actually changes the way you see everything else. Like when you love yourself, you learn to love life. Because just like you have so many nuances, and just like you have so many ups and downs, and just like you are not black and white, and you have this entire spectrum of a person that sometimes can be paradoxical, but like it coexists somehow. Life is just the same way, and I've grown to appreciate life itself so much more deeply because I love myself. And it gives me another sense of resilience in challenges and in life, because obviously sometimes it's hard. It gives me another sense of hope and self-belief, and you act from a completely different space, like mind space, heart space. When you love yourself, your attitude changes, your approach to life, your approach to even people, to your relationships, everything shifts when you shift. This podcast is not called The Inner Path for no reason. It's because every journey starts within. Everything starts with you. I am a deep, fully believer of this. Every big change that has ever happened in my life started with me learning to find myself, find parts of myself, heal parts of myself, and ultimately accept, embrace, and love those parts of me. And so I'm really happy that I'm bringing this, because we talk a lot about how to love yourself, right? And that's something I personally talk about too, because it is very important for me that the people that are around me, that you guys can learn this too, because it is so impactful, it is so transformational and so healing. And there is nothing I want more than be able to impact the women around me to love themselves so much more deeply and ultimately as unconditionally as they can. Like, that's literally my life mission, you know? Like, I want people to connect to that deep sense of unconditional love. And I can't believe that I'm literally talking about my mission, first of all, because I feel like I've struggled in the past with that. But I feel like that's literally it. There's nothing that makes me more happy than seeing people love themselves, than hyping people up and just helping them feel more confident and more certain of themselves. And just saying this, like, obviously I have a big smile on my face because it's definitely something I'm passionate about. But yeah, so we talk a lot about, how to love yourself, but I don't think people talk about the things that are keeping you from loving yourself. Like, what are the kind of barriers that you have that are kind of blocking that unconditional love that we all have within ourselves, because it's who we are as in spirit, like spiritually speaking, we are unconditional love. And I think that understanding these things that you might do, or these attitudes, like these little things that are big self-love no-nos, I think it's going to help you understand how you might change how you are, kind of like how to be better towards yourself, like how to be a better person towards yourself, how to be a better lover, a better friend, a better kind of host for your own self, if that makes sense, because you are your own home, and you need to take care of that. Like you need to maintain that, and I think sometimes we don't know how, but a lot of times also we don't fully love ourselves, or we don't fully trust ourselves, because there's so many things that we are doing that is sabotaging that sense of self, and that sense of I love myself, I take care of myself. So these are the things that I feel are the most important ones. I decided to come up with 8 like little points, like bullet points, that I thought were the most significant ones. They were also the ones that I could remember. I'm sure that there's plenty more, but I think that these ones, although they're very narrowed down, I think they are essential. And a lot of people make these mistakes, let's say, and a lot of people do these things without realizing the impact that it has on your self-worth, on your self-esteem, your self-love. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm really excited about this episode. I haven't brought in an episode to the podcast like this in a while, with topics and with a specific thing that I want to teach. I love teaching. I also love talking about my personal life, but it just feels good to come on here and talk about this. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So obviously these are not in a specific order. I just tried to make it like with a line of thought, but these are all equally important, I'd say, and these all kind of complement each other in a way. Like these are all kind of intertwined, because that's how nature exists, right? Like one thing is not fully separate from the other. It's all kind of connected, and so it, oh my god, ow, my hand, sorry guys. And so is this, right? So the first thing that I am so passionate about, like this is like, I would do activism about this, I swear. It's like talking shit about yourself. Talking badly about yourself. Oh my god, I hate this. And I'm not coming from a place of like shame on you, although like why? But it just frustrates me a lot, because I've seen my mom, like in my own, I obviously myself too, but from an outsider perspective, I've seen my mom do this her entire life, and I'm pretty sure that's kind of where I learned it. But it's really frustrating, because obviously I love her, and it feels frustrating that she will never understand how bad that is. So I'm glad I can bring this to the podcast and be like, okay, maybe I can't help my mom. Maybe she'll have to do her own thing in her own way at her own pace, but at least I can bring this here and help someone. So whoever is listening to this is so important. Like talking shit about yourself, talking badly about yourself is probably one of the worst things you can do. And let me give you some examples of what I mean, because maybe you don't even realize that you're doing this. And first of all, I want to say that this is not about what you're thinking about yourself, because thoughts are harder to manage, especially at first when you're just starting your healing, self-love, self-awareness journey. Like that takes time. Learning to program your mind, to reprogram your mind, learning to navigate your thoughts, and learning like how to just do it in a way that you can actually change your thoughts about something. Like that takes a lot of time. Obviously it also depends on what we're talking about, because for some people maybe it's going to be faster than for others, but that's not even what I mean. Obviously your thoughts will influence the way you think about yourself, because it's your thoughts, but I mean what you actually say out loud. Like that also has a lot of impact, and we're doing that so subconsciously, like we're not even noticing when we're saying certain things. Like my mom often says, oh, like you're so stupid, or oh, stupid, I can't believe I missed this, or like like you say that shit about you are kind of absorbing that is going into your subconscious mind, and that is constantly kind of feeding that that thought, that belief within you that says that you are stupid, that you are not good enough. So this might be, you know, talking shit about yourself, like saying you're stupid, saying that you are lazy, saying that you can never have this or that. It can also be saying that you'll never be successful. It can be literally calling yourself dumb or ridiculous or cringe. Like, for example, sometimes I'm like a really funny person. And sometimes that funny can feel also crazy because it feels like too much. My entire life, I felt like it was too much because I can be a lot. And I've always associated that with a bad thing. So sometimes when I'm being silly, like by myself, I say, you know, I got so many issues. And I'm saying that as a joke, obviously. But I realize that I don't think that's a good thing to say, because although I'm not saying that in a serious way, the word still means something in my brain. Having issues is a bad thing ultimately. You can say that as a joke, but the word itself, like your brain is going to process it how it is. And so something that I've been shifting is, instead of saying like, oh my God, I have so many issues, I'm going to say, I'm so funny. Like, I'm so hilarious, you know, like that changes it. That shifts your mind and your perception of yourself so much. Instead of saying you're stupid, saying, oh, this is stupid. Or instead of saying I'm stupid because I forgot this, you can just say I forgot this, but it's okay. Like, that changes a lot. This can also be saying that you're fat, that you're disgusting, that, oh my God, have low battery on my laptop. This always happens. But this is a big one too. Like, my mom does this all the time. Like, let's not normalize talking shit about our bodies too, because I think that's obviously not going to help you. Love yourself, love your body. Like, we don't want to validate the self-hatred in us. We don't want to do that. Like, that's the opposite of what we want to do. And the words that you speak towards yourself, the kind of inner dialogue that you have with yourself, the way you talk about yourself matters so much. So quit on saying, you know, I'm fat, I'm disgusting, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm silly, I'm too much, no one can put up with me, I have issues. Like, whatever it is, be very aware of that. Like, start being more aware. And I hope that as I'm saying this, the next time that maybe you do something like that, you'll notice more, like quicker, because you heard this episode. Thankfully, that's what's going to happen. Because sometimes we just need something to remind us, oh my God, like, I'm saying this to myself. And as you are saying those things to yourself, then you can shift. Because sometimes I might still say, oh my God, I have so many issues. But then I say, you know what? No, that's not true. I'm just really fucking hilarious. I'm so fun. And that's what I do. Like, as soon as I notice that I'm saying, maybe, for example, if my mom says, oh, I'm fat, I'm disgusting, like, I look like a pig, I'm saying these things, I know it might be triggering, but these are things that I'm sure some people say, as well as my mom. And so you say those things and you say, you know what? Like, my body may not look like a supermodel's body, but my body is still so worthy, and it's so important, and it's so vital, and it's healthy. And I can move, I can jump, I can eat, I can do everything I require. My body is perfect because my body's function is not to look good. It's to be as healthy as possible, because some people don't even have that. So the fact that we do, like, that's a fucking blessing, right? We take those things for granted, and sometimes you just have to remember that your body was never made to look a certain way. Like, I'm not saying that it's not a bad thing to feel hot either, but it shouldn't be the center of your attention, you know? Like, there's many more important things to kind of focus on. And now that we're talking about the body, as I was saying, like, I feel like these points will kind of naturally flow because I put them in an order that I think will make sense. But something that I think is really important is just not taking care of your hygiene. That's a big self-love no-no. Not taking care of your hygiene / basic needs like eating, drinking water, brushing your teeth, showering. I'm not saying shower every day. Like, let's be real, I don't shower every day. I don't need to shower every day. Like, if I'm sweating, if I'm feeling disgusting, I will shower as needed, but it doesn't mean that you have to shower every day or wash your hair every day. I wash my hair not every other week, that's too much. Every week, I wash my hair every week, and I wash my body whenever the hell I want to. I don't have a specific day for it. But I do it from a place of, I need this. I do brush my teeth every day, for example. I don't brush my hair every day. So it also depends on you, and you need to find what makes sense to you, to your body. What is your body asking you to, and what does your body need? Because I feel like I need to brush my teeth every day, because otherwise we will have, like, I don't remember the name, but we'll have teeth problems, and our hygiene lowers. And plus, I do love the feeling of feeling fresh in the mouth, like after I eat. I know a lot of people may agree with that. I've struggled with keeping up with my hygiene, and if you've heard other episodes from before, you know that when I was really going through stuff during my last relationship, my 7-year relationship, there was a point where I felt so depressed, and I didn't like myself to a point where I wasn't brushing my teeth. I don't know if I brushed my teeth for a year. Like, I would maybe brush it like with just water, and sometimes not even that. Like, this feels actually vulnerable, because I feel like some people will be like, that's disgusting. I mean, it kind of is, but that's not the point, is it? But sometimes I didn't want to brush my teeth at all, but I still didn't like the feeling of, like, feeling things in my teeth, like they're not fully, like, just smooth, if that makes sense. So sometimes I would just go with the towel and, like, take out the, like, extra things that I felt, and you do like that with your tongue. So I would do that, and I needed that to be or feel clean. But I didn't brush my teeth for a while. I didn't shower that much, and honestly, the only reason that I showered was because me and my ex would have sex, and I would feel pretty disgusting. But sometimes I wouldn't shower for days. Like, I wouldn't brush my hair or take care of myself. I would eat in a very unhealthy way because I was binge eating, but I wasn't really eating in, like, specific hours or good hours. I was just all over the place in terms of my basic needs, and that's never a good thing. Why? Because just like when you take care of a child, you need to be consistent with these basic needs, because otherwise they are literally being neglected. There's also the concept of self-neglect and self-abandonment that I've talked about here on the podcast. You can look for self-abandonment. It's a very early episode that I did a while ago, but that's a very real thing. When you abandon yourself, there's no way you're gonna feel loved. If you've dealt with a neglectful or abandoning parent, you're gonna know that it doesn't feel like love. And it's obviously why. There's an obvious reason why. It's because you need to water yourself, and you need to be watered in order to feel love, whatever that looks like for you, because obviously we have different love languages, different ways we interpret love. But ultimately, if someone is, like, ghosting you all the time, or no one is ever there, you're not going to feel loved, and that's obvious. And that same way happens for you. If you're not there for your most basic needs, you're not going to feel that much connection with yourself, because that connection starts when you show up for yourself more consistently. And it doesn't have to be so complicated, especially in the beginning. Like, it starts with, like, getting out of bed when you can, brushing your teeth, and it starts with committing to those things, because not because you have to, not because they're obligations. Because I know if you struggle with self-discipline, I get it. I've struggled with that for a really long time in my life, because you're seeing those things as chores. Like, you barely have no energy to take care of yourself. But the thing is, the more you do it, the more it's gonna feel less like a chore, and the more it's gonna feel like a blessing, and the more it's gonna feel nurturing and good. Like, I used to forget to brush my teeth for a while. Like, when I finally started to, like, okay, I need to start brushing my teeth, I would forget. I would not do it. But then I was like, I'm going to start doing it. And now I cannot think about going to bed with my unbrushed teeth. Like, I just can't, because it became a regular thing for me. It became the rule, and now it doesn't feel like it's an effort at all. It feels more like more like an effort to not do it. And the same way with, showering. Like, I will shower when I have to, but if I for some reason stop myself from doing it, I'm not going to feel good, because I'm going to feel either sweaty or I'm going to be smelling, and I don't like that. We like feeling fresh, and it's not a coincidence. When we are fresh, our energy is fresher too, because it's all connected, right? Like, when we clean our space, for example, it feels clearer, and it's not a coincidence, because our physical reality impacts our state of being too. And so if you are fresh and you're clean and you're taking care of yourself, your hygiene, you're drinking water, you're eating as much as you need to when you need to, for you, that changes things. That's the first step towards feeling like you got your own back, and that's key. The other thing that I feel like is also connected to kind of how you take care of your body, because obviously your body is a big part of you. But this is something that I feel a lot of people might struggle with, and it's something that I wanted to make sure I mentioned, because it was a big step for me, a big commitment towards myself, being like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, there's no fucking way I'm ever gonna do this to myself anymore. Like, it's a no, I'm done. And that is weighting myself. So a big no-no is checking your weight. And this is going to feel particularly true if you struggle with body image, which I'm sure most of you, unfortunately, might struggle with it, because most women kind of do. Most people really, but obviously I'm talking to women mainly, and most women definitely do, unfortunately. And that was a big thing for me. I struggled with, eating and my weight for a few years, for a while. Basically my entire adolescence and the first young adult years. And it was a really big struggle. I was obsessed with my weight to a point where I would weight myself basically every day. Like, that was a thing. Like, I would do that every single day. I was totally obsessed with it. I remember that if I didn't eat, I felt good, because I knew I would weight less. And if I did eat, I would feel terrible, because I knew I would weight a little more. Even if it was like an apple, even if it was healthy food, even if it was nutritious and actually good for me, it still wouldn't feel good. And I think it's because I developed such a bad relationship with food and the way it kind of related to me, in terms of, if I'm gaining weight, then it's a bad thing. Then I'm not lovable. Then I'm not worthy. Then I'm disgusting. Like, I've struggled with that for a very long time. And this year, actually, or, well, it was kind of already last year, but this year, I made that decision of, like, I'm dropping the scale. Like, I will never touch you again. Goodbye. Like, we are broken up. It's over. Fuck you. I'll never see you again. Obviously, I don't live by my own. So I live with my parents, and both of them have scales. But I have made a promise to myself that I will never weigh myself again, unless I know I'm struggling with health for some reason. Like, if I lose weight very, very quickly, or I gain weight very, very quickly and it feels completely unnatural, I might want to check, because it might be like a hormonal thing. But I mean, like, disproportionately evident, disproportionately bad in a health matter, or if I'm at the doctor. And I will probably ask them not to tell me. And it's not because I feel like my number is bad, but it's because I know that the number that feels worthy for me, if that makes sense, the number that I would feel good at, will never be the number that I'm in again. And that's a good thing, because thankfully I don't struggle with not eating anymore, and I'm eating healthily, and I'm eating a balanced diet. I'm not really worried about what I'm ingesting, what I'm giving to myself, in the sense of, it doesn't matter what I weight. It doesn't matter that number. That number isn't significant. What matters is how I feel, how healthy I am in terms of, can I move, can I jump, can I, like, do I have physical resistance, and also like how I feel about the foods that I'm eating. If they make me feel sick, obviously, then I don't want to do it, but I know I feel good, and I know I'm healthy, my body is healthy, and I don't want to ever scale myself ever again. And I mean that, and I'm telling you this because I know some of you need it too. This is an actual commitment that I have to myself. Sometimes I'm curious about it, but I know that if I do that, if I step on that line, I'm going to continue to perpetuate something that I don't want to, which is my body weight matters. And it really doesn't. Because if you're being balanced, if you're honoring your body, whatever your weight is, it's healthy. Because you're not making choices based on a number. You're making choices based on what is actually good for you and what feels good. And when you build that connection, rather than creating this illusion that, you know, your health is determined by this specific number that is so limited, then I think you build a very healthy connection with your body. And the way you process everything in terms of food, the way you move your body, everything starts coming from a place of self-love. And I think that changes everything, because especially as women, we struggle so much with our bodies, right? Like, we have struggled with our bodies forever, and for you to not perpetuate that, I deeply advise you to drop the fucking scale. That's a big self-love no-no. Like, that is, the scale is fucking canceled. You know what I mean? Like, that's how serious I am. It's canceled. It's over. Like, when I mean drop it, I mean if it's yours, if you bought it, like, throw it away. Sell it. Like, do whatever you want, but just take it out of the house. Like, don't have one in the first place. Like, how silly is that we have those things in our own houses? Like, that's weird. And it's not because of the health, because otherwise, why don't we have, I don't know, like, other types of medical things in our house? We don't. So it's not really about health at all. It's just about worthiness, actually. That's a big, big one. I just wanted to put that out there because I know this one is really important and it might impact a lot of you guys. So please do that, like, genuinely. And if you do drop the scale, please DM me with, I dropped the scale. Like, I want to hear that. I want to connect with you. I want to celebrate you. So please let me know. Like, if you did that, you say drop the scale or I dropped the scale in my DMs on Instagram. Obviously, those links are always going to be down below or in the description of this episode. But do that. I would love to know. And you don't have to drop the scale literally and, like, you know, put it in the trash if it's not yours. But if you're committed to not weighting yourself anymore, then comment or DM me, I guess, with I dropped the scale. I would love to see that. So the other thing is, and this one is a bit more unrelated, but it's letting people walk all over you. That's a big self-love no-no. It's a no-no. Letting people walk all over you, aka people pleasing. That's something that I personally still struggle with. Not as much at all. Like, the more I build self-belief and the more I trust myself, the more I honor myself, the harder it is to not respect myself just because I want to be comfortable. Because actually, something that I think will change your perspective is you're not people pleasing for other people, actually. Like, you're not being nice because you want to be a good person. You're being nice because it actually, not being nice or not being your idea of nice, let's say, like, not, like, the idea of kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The idea of saying yes rather than saying no. The idea of accommodating to someone or something rather than confronting something and speaking up. It's not that you want to make someone else comfortable. It's not. It's actually because you don't want to make yourself uncomfortable. And I'm going to explain this because I feel like, although this episode is not about people pleasing specifically, I guess I would love to make an episode about that, actually. But just to give you an idea, because I feel like this will change your perspective a little, but we often don't speak up because it's uncomfortable to us. It's not because we're scared of hurting someone. Like, we might be scared of hurting someone, but ultimately it's the feeling that we're scared of. It's the feeling of feeling like we're bad people. It's the feeling of confrontation, the anxiety that it brings. Kind of that, it feels almost like an emotional barrier that we have when we want to say something like no, thank you, or we want to say I don't want to go, or we want to say don't talk to me that way. It's not because of them. It's because we are so scared of our own emotion, and we're already projecting that it's gonna feel like shit. So for example, when I set a boundary of like, don't talk to me that way, the fear that I feel is not because I think this person is gonna hate me necessarily. It's the feeling of abandonment. I mean, it's the feeling of if I say this to this person and they don't approve or they don't validate me, then they're rejecting me. It's the feeling of rejection that I'm actually fearing, and not actually the rejection itself. Does that make sense? Oftentimes we don't fear the other person because the other person doesn't really exist. Like, we view reality from our point of view always. So whatever we think about reality comes from us first. And so when you fear confronting people, you fear something that exists within you. It's not really about them. And as I was saying, like, the more you commit to yourself and the more you love yourself and you build that inner strength of, I know who I am and I'm not gonna let anyone get in the way of that, and the more you build that inner structure, the harder it's gonna be to disrespect yourself. Even if it's a bit scary, even if sometimes you have to be uncomfortable. This is something that I learned, which is I'm willing to be uncomfortable. Like, obviously sometimes it's harder than others, and I'm not taking that away. Like, it is harder sometimes, and it's tough. I've had to set boundaries. I've had to cut people off that I did not want to, and for that reason I cried and I had a hard time, and it was not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. But let me tell you something, it's always going to be easier to do that than to disrespect myself. And that's going to continue to be truer and truer as I move through my own self-love journey and my own healing journey. Because before, it felt normal to give up on my sense of self and my values and my safety even, in order to make someone else comfortable, because I was so scared of conflict. I was so scared of standing up for myself because I was scared of their rejection, of their abandonment. So I would rather stay quiet. But now that I have myself, meaning I'm not abandoning myself, I know that even if they reject me, even if they abandon me, I'm going to still be there for myself. And their abandonment and rejection has nothing to do with me, unless I'm not being my full true self and I'm acting out of ego or hate. But if I'm acting out of self-love, if I'm acting out of a place of I need to be in integrity with myself, then whatever they choose to do with that, it's on them. It's not on me. But I have an obligation towards myself to speak my truth. I have that obligation, because if you don't, you cannot expect people to understand you. You cannot expect people to have your needs met. You cannot expect people to do something that they don't know about. It's up to you to let them know what you need, what you don't need, what you accept and what you completely do not accept, what is tolerable, what is, amazing, and what is completely not tolerable. Like, it's your job. And I know this is obviously much easier said than done, but this is a big one, because if you keep choosing comfort, meaning you keep choosing to just be in your place, like, okay, I'm not going to say anything, because speaking up can be hard and can be challenging and uncomfortable. So if you choose to be like, I'm not going to say anything, like, then you're choosing comfort, and by choosing that comfort, you're actually saying to yourself, like, I don't deserve to have my needs met. I don't deserve to have my boundaries honored. That's what you are saying to yourself. Your actions speak a lot louder than you telling everyone or singing songs with, like, I stand firm in my boundaries and stuff like that. Like, that won't work until you actually do. And that's a big, big part of self-love. And it's a big no-no to dishonor yourself because you want to stay comfortable, because you're scared of someone else's reaction, because you're scared that you're going to be too much, because you're scared that you might lose some people. You might, let me tell you that. You might lose some people. You probably will lose some people in this journey. That's not a bad thing. It might feel shitty at first because obviously we tend to attach ourselves to people. We tend to attach ourselves to a community. And when we lose them, we ultimately feel rejected, even if it was us that rejected them. But we ultimately feel somewhat of a sense of abandonment. But that's better than abandoning yourself. That is always going to be better. Because you might not notice it because you're so used to it, but it impacts you emotionally. It impacts you emotionally. Every time you disrespect yourself, your sense of self-esteem and self-worth lowers, like drops so much. You're kind of used to it, so you don't notice it, but it's dropping. And that's not good. That's a big no-no if you want to love yourself. And with all of this, I feel like it's also kind of it makes sense to talk about outsourcing your sense of self-worth. That's a big no-no too. What that means is like your sense of self-worth, meaning you only feel worthy if someone else or something else makes you feel that way. So it's not coming from within. It's not coming from an inner validation, let's say, of like, you know, I'm worthy because I'm here, because I exist, and that makes me worthy of love, of abundance, of connection, of my own love, whatever it is, right? If you are looking to prove yourself, and I've talked about self-worthiness before, but if you want to prove your sense of self-worth, then you are saying to yourself, first of all, that you are not worthy. And the other thing is you're going to be looking like externally for something that you will never find because it's not an external thing. Like you might find, for example, that accomplishing something will make you worthy, or finding a lover will make you worthy, or finding the right group of friends, or, you know, having your friends validate you, or your family validate you and approve of you and approve your projects and your dreams and whatever it is. It makes you feel worthy, like, okay, like I'm worthy of being loved, like they love me, I'm worthy. It's kind of a little reward that we give to ourselves, but very quickly it feels like nothing. Very quickly it's not going to feel fulfilling at all. It's not going to feel nurturing at all, because it ends as soon as it comes. Just like an achievement, like it feels really good, like, okay, I need to get here in order to be worthy, in order to consider myself successful, whatever it is. And then we get there, and then it's like, okay, what now? Like we're always going to be searching for something else, and it's going to be insatiable, and something that I've obviously struggled with this. I'm not coming here from a place of, you know, I have it all figured out, this is so easy now. Like sometimes it's still hard. Like sometimes I still put that sense of self-worthiness in someone else's hands, in something else's hands, right? A big one for me is romance, like putting my sense of self-worth in, if guys validate me, then I'm worthy. If guys find me desirable, or find me hot, or find me sexy and attractive, if someone loves me, like romantically speaking, if someone falls in love with me, I'm worthy. But if someone doesn't, what does that mean? Right? Like we make it about ourselves when it's really not, because life is always happening and it's not always going to be exactly what we want it to be. Like not everyone is going to love us, not everyone is going to validate or approve us, unless we are completely like neutral and we're just people pleasing all the time, which obviously, as I've said before, it's not really the way to go, because you're going to feel like shit. You're going to hate yourself for it. I've hated myself for so long, especially when I was in my last 7-year relationship, because I kept pushing my own sense of truth and my sense of self just so I could keep that relationship, because I thought that without that relationship I wasn't worthy, because I thought this person makes me feel like at least I can be loved, even if that love is completely toxic and completely inappropriate for the person that I am and the emotional and spiritual needs that I have. But if I don't have this, then I'm not worthy. Then I'm not, like, I'm going to be abandoned. And as soon as I started building that sense of self-worthiness, which obviously takes time. This is all things that take time. And by time, I mean it might take a few months to a few years. definitely it's going to take a few years, and after that it's a never ending journey, because there's always more depth to these things. But the more you build that self-belief, self-trust, the more you show up for yourself, the more you're going to feel worthy of yourself, and the more you're going to realize that what other people have to say about you does not dictate how worthy, capable, successful, whatever, lovable you are. Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't at all. So that's a big one. Like, please do not place your sense of self-worthiness in someone else's hands. Big self-love no. The other thing is, and I think this one is very important. Let me check how long we've been talking. Okay, 40 minutes. That's not too much. The other thing is not pursuing your passions and dreams. And by that I don't mean just like career-wise. I mean like everything-wise, right? Like, it means, for example, I love playing ukulele and I love playing keyboard and I love singing. If I'm not singing for like a month, something is not right. Something ain't right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I love being around nature. Like, these things are important for my heart. And if I'm not honoring that heart, like if I'm not honoring my emotional needs, my heart's and soul's needs, then I'm not going to feel love for myself. Because there's the like doing the bare minimum of, for example, a parent or a lover, right? So you have that type of love, and that will get you far enough to maybe start doing some things for yourself and start pushing yourself and start just living life from a different place. Yes. And it starts there with doing the bare minimum, which is showing up for your hygiene, like doing the simpler things that are equally important. But then there's a like other level of self-love and showing up for yourself, which is, okay, now I'm not only doing the bare minimum, now I'm not doing the things for surviving. Now I'm doing the things for thriving. And that's when you create an even bigger connection with yourself, a bigger and deeper connection with yourself. When you decide to be like, what does my inner child need? What are the things that make me feel inspired, that make me feel in love with life? Let me do more of that. For me, that means being around nature, as I've said, singing, playing guitar, creating in general, being around friends sometimes, but sometimes also isolating and just being with myself and like just being how do you say, like being cozy being cozy, like under a blanket and just kind of hugging myself and just being like, oh my god, this is so good. Just treating myself, like taking a nice spa type of shower, giving myself a like neck and shoulder massage, just caressing my body, caressing my legs, my arms, even my boobs. Like, I just really like giving myself love and showing myself affection. I think that was a good word. Affection. Like showing yourself affection, not just, okay, let me take care of yourself. Like, let me take care of myself. Like you kind of see those parents like, okay, they do the things, they feed the kids, and then their argument is always like, I put a roof over your head and I give you food, like you owe me. Kind of like, what? No, I don't owe you, bitch. Like, no offense. Like, obviously I'm grateful that I have that, but it's not because of you. I'm grateful because I know some people are born with less, but that's not something that I'm gonna applaud you for. Like, am I the only one that thinks that way? That is your obligation. And you also have that obligation towards yourself. Sure, celebrate that. Sure, be grateful that you're showing up for yourself. But do not stop there. Like, go, like, take it a step ahead. Take it a step further. Like, show up even more. Because that is going to change the game. Like, that's what brings you from, like, kind of being okay with yourself and being like, okay, I can tolerate myself. That's what changes and kind of takes you from that place to a place of, I love myself. I'm willing to do whatever it fucking takes to make sure that I live my best life. And there's literally nothing or no one that can ever like stand in the way of me, my truth, and me honoring myself. Like, I'm so devotional towards myself because I feel like I am my own temple. I am my own divinity in a way. And I will take care of myself as such, and there is nothing that can stop me from honoring that. And it doesn't mean that I don't screw up sometimes, but it does mean that ultimately I will always go back to that. Ultimately, I will always find a way of honoring myself and choosing right by me. And it's not because I have to, but it's because I want to, because I enjoy myself. I enjoy my own company. So these things are important. Take it one step further. If you feel like you kind of tolerate yourself, if you feel like you don't hate yourself at this point, but you're also not like, wow, like I'm incredible, then you can take it one step further. I'm telling you. So show up for yourself, caress yourself. What was the word I was using? I forgot it. But deeply enjoy your own company. Like, do things that you love. Take yourself on dates. Like, pursue your dreams and passion. So there is the passions part, which is like your hobbies, like your creative energy, your inner child. Those are important things. But then there's also your dreams, which is maybe it might be around career too, like whatever it is, like the big dreams that you have, the big house, the career, the path that you want for yourself that feels the most true to you, your heart's desires, your soul's truest and deepest desires. Like, do those things. Do not stop. That's gonna completely change the way you exist in this world. That's gonna completely change your life. And I'm saying this from a place of, there's still so much that I want to do, especially in terms of my career. Well, in terms of my life in general, but specifically in terms of my career, there's so many things that I want to do. There's so much I want to accomplish, but I'm so proud of myself already that I am doing it, that I am investing time in myself. And although most people around me don't necessarily believe me, although my parents might doubt that I'm capable of doing this, my family, I'm not even going to talk about my family because come on, like, they're definitely very limited in terms of what is actually possible. And although sometimes I also question that because I'm like, what if they're right? Like, what if I end up failing and proving them right and proving myself wrong? But then there's this love within me that says no, fuck no, because no matter what happens, I choose this. Like, I choose to pursue this. And there's no way I could fail because I'm already doing it. I'm already living the dream. I'm already like putting myself out there. I'm already taking the steps towards those dreams. I'm already like publishing my songs. Finally, I'm already like doing the programs, like putting myself on YouTube, doing the podcast. Like, I'm showing up. I'm doing these things for me, and every time I do them, I believe more because every time I do them, it's like when a parent supports you. Every time they show up for you and they applaud you, they're like, you're doing great. That means something. That makes you feel some type of way because ultimately it just increases the belief in yourself. And the same happens with you. Like, when you show up for yourself and you're like, let's do this, because although it might be hard and sometimes it feels impossible, I believe enough that at least I'm going to do this today. That at least I'm going to show up and record this podcast, that at least I'm going to show up and like record a story or write a book, or not write a book, but write a chapter or write something, or that I'm going to go out and I'm going to do that job and I'm going to do that next right thing. Doing that, it's like it's sending signals to your brain. I don't understand neuroscience, by the way, but it's like it's sending signals to your brain, to you, that there is a part of you that believes, because otherwise you wouldn't do it. So when you are pursuing these dreams and passions, you build self-love, you build self-belief, self-esteem, and ultimately, like what used to be the tolerable like relationship you had with yourself, and now it's like thriving, and it's deeply like it feels so real. Like, I love myself. I love myself, and I'm not scared of saying it anymore. And I'm not saying it from a place of, oh, this sounds fancy. It's like saying you love yourself, but not fully feeling it in your body. Like, I love myself. I would literally kill, not die, but kill, like kill whatever it is. Like, I used to feel like if I was ever in a very like apocalyptic reality, that I would just rather die right away rather than trying to survive. And I think that speaks a lot to how I was and the relationship I had with myself, which was pretty much like, I'm not willing to do anything. Like, I would rather just die and not have to try, because what's the point? Like nowadays I'm like, whatever happens, even if like zombies or whatever, like whatever apocalyptic reality, I will fight for me. I would rather survive. Like I would rather choose myself, even if that means doing the hard thing. Like even in a very, very hopefully unrealistic like kind of reality, right? And I think that says a lot. That means that I'm really willing to go above and beyond for myself. And that wasn't something that I built overnight. So you don't have to build that overnight either, but it can happen. It is possible. I've done it. So can you. I'm telling you, it's not impossible. It's so achievable. It's so reachable. Every day, you can build up on that energy and that inner structure. Believe me, I was in a very different place before. I'm here now. It's not a coincidence. I slowly but surely kept showing up for myself. And now it doesn't even feel like an obligation for the most part. It feels like, it's just what I'm willing to do for myself. The other thing is not letting fear win. So letting fear win, definitely a big no-no. Sometimes we let fear win, and that, I think this applies to a lot of things, like to people pleasing, to not pursuing your dreams, to all these things. Like we let fear win. I think the opposite of fear is actually love. It's not fearlessness. Obviously, it's also courage, but I don't think courage comes from any other place but love. I genuinely I deeply believe in this. I keep using deeply today. But I believe this, wholeheartedly believe that the opposite of fear is love. Because you will always have fear. So it's not about not having fear. Again, it's not about fearlessness. It's about when you love so much, you're willing to face the fear. Like you're willing to overcome it. There's a reason why like motherly love, parent love can make you do the like impossible things. And it's not because you're not scared, it's because there's something bigger. Like love is bigger than anything else. Love is much bigger than fear. And if I didn't love myself, I wouldn't have fought as much as I did to break up with my ex, to start my own business, to drop out of college, to choose myself over and over again, even when people around me told me that I was crazy, to continue to believe and pursue even when I wasn't having the results that I wanted to. Even nowadays, I'm not having all the results that I want to, but I keep showing up. And it's not because I don't fear. Like, it's because I love myself. When you let your fear win, when you're willing to not pursue something or not do something because fear feels too overwhelming, you are telling yourself that you're not worth the try, and I'm not just talking about career-wise, I'm literally talking about everything, like setting a boundary, like putting yourself in discomfort if you struggle with socializing and you're always isolated, but deep down you know that it's important for you to create community because we're human beings after all. Like, if you're choosing fear and you're not even trying to push it a little, like, okay, let me see what I can do because I know this is important for me, so will I just ignore that? Like, or will I choose me? Ultimately, you're either choosing yourself or you're not. I really think that. You're either choosing yourself or you're choosing comfort, which comes from fear. and I think that's really important. Like, learning that fear will always be there, but do you love yourself enough that you're gonna try to push through it, to overcome it, to challenge yourself to leap even when you're scared that everything might fall apart? And again, this applies to so many things of your life. This applies to literally any area. Like, literally, I think I've come up with a few examples, but there's probably like infinite amounts of examples for this. But I'm so hot, I'm sorry guys. But I do think that this is important. Like, if you are always letting fear win, and you're not willing to do something that, for example, you already know you're supposed to do, you can tell that maybe the universe is sending you signs, or your intuition is telling you to do something, or you just know because you have a good judgment that, like, okay, this person is not trustworthy, or I should break up, or I should cut this person off, or I should set a boundary, or I should quit, like, or I should try to pursue this career, like whatever, like literally whatever it is. When you're letting fear win, you are, first of all, abandoning yourself in a way, and ultimately you're not building that self-love that I know you want to. An example, I want to participate in The Voice, the singing program. I want to do that because I feel like if I don't, I will regret it. I know singing is a big part of my life and the person that I want to become and the person that I am. I just can't live without singing. and I know I want to do it. Am I terrified? Yes. Do I kind of want to win, but am I scared that I won't at all? Yes. Will I still do it? Fuck yes. Because you know what? Fear will always be there. And I'm not willing to jeopardize my reality in order to just settle for fear. Like, okay, fear, you won. I'm not gonna do that. No, fear will never win. Maybe it will win like temporarily, but I will always overcome it, even if it takes me a little longer. And that's one example. Like, I want to do that. I'm scared and I know it's going to be nerve-wracking. I've never done anything like that before. And I'm going to do it. It's not a but, it's an and I'm going to do it. Like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to face that fear. Because I love myself so much that I do not want to abandon my heart so I could stay in the idea that it's too much for me, too hard, too impossible, too unrealistic, whatever the hell it is. I just can't do that. I just can't. I love myself too much to ever settle for that belief, for that limiting belief. And ultimately, and lastly, but not least, the last point that I have, this is the eighth point. Point number 8, which I think is also very, very important. It's not keeping your word. This is a big self-love no. Keeping your word and being in integrity with your truth is so important. I keep moving in my chair. I have this like syndrome of not being able to sit still. I don't know if you guys struggle with that too, but I just can't. It's also been almost an hour, so like, please forgive me, but like, I'm human, you know? But not keeping your word, and oh my God, this is so important, okay? Because keeping your word builds self-trust, and the most significant part of a relationship, and I'm not just talking about a relationship with yourself, like I'm talking about any type of relationship, a work relationship, a family relationship, a love relationship, or romance, it's more accurately said, but a romance relationship, whatever it is, the first thing is trust. You will never open up, you will never be vulnerable with someone if you don't trust them to a certain degree. You just won't. And when I mean vulnerable, I mean deeply vulnerable, like feeling things that you're scared of talking about, or just even feeling things that you're scared to feel, like, you know, like being fully, like feeling deeply exposed, right? And you'll never do that truly if you don't trust that person. If you don't trust that they'll hold space for you, if you don't trust that they will show up for you and your needs, that they will be consistent, that they won't abandon you out of nowhere or reject you completely, or judge you or laugh, like whatever it is, but that trust is probably the first thing that you need to start to surrender to that person, to start to trust, to start to confide in that person, to open up, to open your heart, your soul, your mind. And this is a big part of creating a relationship with yourself too. And I think self-trust is the first step. And obviously, many things that I've talked today are about building that self-trust. So showing up for yourself, taking care of your hygiene, doing the bare minimums for yourself, that definitely builds self-trust. And another thing is keeping your word. Like, that's a big thing. And I know that a lot of people don't keep their words, me included. Obviously, again, I'm not perfect. I don't need to be perfect. But the point is that this is definitely something that I try to pay attention to. And I try to be as in integrity as I can, while also recognizing that I'm human. Like, come on, I do not need to be perfect. Obviously, sometimes I also don't keep my word, and that's okay. But for the most part, I know that I do the right thing for me, by me. So this can be simple things like, okay, today I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna do that thing. Or today I'm gonna brush my teeth. Or, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna talk to this person ever again because they crossed many lines and they don't deserve a space in my heart, or at least in my life. And you start talking to them again, or you say, I will never get back to this person, get back together with this person, yeah, and then you come back to that person. Like, there's so many things, right? And not keeping your word builds I don't want to say self-doubt, builds unreliability towards yourself. I think that's the better word, the better use. It makes you feel like you can't count on you, which is the most sacred thing. If you can't count on you, believe me, you won't feel like you can count on anyone, because ultimately you're the one that has to do the shit. Like, you're the one that has to put in the work, that has to show up for yourself. You're the one that has to do the things. So if you don't trust that you can do the things because you've already said you would, but then you never did, you're gonna feel less and less confident that you can actually do those things. So for example, if I say, okay, I'm gonna move my body every week, whether it's working out or going for a walk or doing yoga, whatever it is, but I'm committing to that. If I say that and then I never do it, I'm gonna feel like, okay, I'm not disciplined enough. I can't rely on myself. I can't count on myself. And so I'm a failure. And I'm always going to be unsuccessful because I know that I need some kind of discipline. Like, everyone needs somewhat discipline in their lives, whatever that looks like for everyone, right? But that's important. And if you don't feel like you can rely on yourself, you're not going to really push yourself at all. You're going to accommodate to the idea that wherever you're at, that's as far as you can go in life, in, like, internally speaking too, emotionally speaking, like, that you can never become more, that you can never upgrade your life or yourself. And that creates a sense of hopelessness within yourself, which is not what we want. And the other, like, part of this is not only about keeping your word, but it's also about staying true to yourself, staying true to what's in integrity for you, which is also something that we struggle with as humans, because sometimes we want to do the easiest thing. And although I don't feel like I'm ready to talk about it, I definitely did some things this month that weren't in integrity with my deepest truth. They just weren't, and that's okay, because everybody makes mistakes, you know what I mean? But for real, like, everyone makes mistakes, and that's fine. But I know that that's okay, because, you know, if we look at the bigger spectrum of, you know, my actions and my choices, I feel like a lot of them have been in integrity. I'd say that most of them have been in integrity compared to the ones that haven't. And that makes me feel secure that I can do whatever I need to do, that I can do what it takes, that I can show up for myself even if it gets hard. I know I can do that. I know I can rely on myself. I have relied on myself many times before, and it has been a good experience after I started my self-love journey. So that's a good thing. That's what we want. But we are not perfect, and sometimes we don't honor our truth. And what that means is, if you know something is wrong for you, something is unhealthy for you, I don't mean just food, I mean people, environments, beliefs, habits, thoughts, whatever, and you keep ignoring that, or you keep being someone that you know you don't want to be. For example, you have specific friends and you want to be a good person, but those friends are always making fun of someone or bullying someone or talking shit, and you don't feel like that makes you a good person. Like, you feel like that's the opposite of being a good person, and you feel like that's not who you want to be, but you keep doing it. That's kind of the definition, and that's what I mean by not being in integrity. It's like who you really want to be, and deep down who you are, because if you want to be a good person, it's because deep down you are already. You would never want to be something that at the depth of you aren't, right? So you are a good person. You might just not know how to be one, right? But if you want to be a good person, but then you keep hurting other people purposefully, or in a way that you're aware that you're hurting people, and you're not hurting them from a place of, okay, I need to honor myself. You're actually hurting them for, I don't know, like, let's say pleasure or for fun, because you just want to mess around. You're in that moment, you are going against your own truth, and so you're not in integrity. You're out of integrity. That's important. Why? Because if you want to build yourself back up, and if you want to build a good inner structure, if you want to love yourself, you're not gonna feel that love so easily, at least if you don't feel like you are in coherence. Does that make sense? Like, you won't feel so proud of yourself if you're doing the things that you said you wouldn't do, and you are being someone that you're not proud of. If you want to be a good person, I'm sure that doing, let's say, quote unquote, good person things, like helping someone, like giving someone a smile, saying thank you, opening doors, like giving someone a tip, like being someone's shoulders, like, I don't know, whatever it is, right? But whatever that looks like for you. And if you're not doing those things, and instead you're being someone else, are you really going to feel proud of that? I don't think you will. And not feeling that way will not help you with your self-esteem and with your sense of self-worth, and ultimately it will not make you want to love yourself at all. The more I've been a person that I'm proud of, and the more I've been someone that, you know, I deeply resonate with. I keep using this word today, oh my god. But if you're doing things that are out of integrity, like an example, it's just an example, totally not based on reality. But if you say that it's time for you to be single, and you decide to be single because you know you need that space from romance, but suddenly someone shows up and you decide, you know what, let me just mess around with this person, like, although I probably shouldn't, but like, let me just do that. That's not gonna help you think of yourself like, wow, this person is really, like, you know, you're gonna feel like, oh my god, like, why did I do this? You're not gonna feel the best. Which, again, it's okay in the sense of we're humans, we make mistakes. But if that keeps adding up too much, then you're gonna feel less and less like a person that you love, and you're gonna feel a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. And in a way, it makes sense that you would feel that way, because if you're being someone that you're not proud of, if you're being someone that you don't want to be, then in that sense, that shame and guilt is not a bad thing. It's actually kind of, it's trying to point you towards the right direction. It's like, okay, maybe you should rethink how you're living your life. If I am proud of the concept of being a bad bitch and setting your boundaries and all of that, but I'm never doing that. I'm always letting people walk all over me, and I let people talk shit, and I let people hurt me, and I never do anything about it. It's not gonna bring me anything. It's gonna make me feel weaker, actually, because I'm not honoring something that I've previously said or thought was who I wanted to be. And that actually happened a lot during my, last relationship. I was starting to, learn about boundaries and feel like, I can be a bad bitch. Like, I won't let anyone tell me what to do. I won't let anyone get in the way. But in reality, that was not happening. And so every time I did not honor that kind of new knowing, I felt weaker and less powerful and less capable. And that will obviously not help you build self love. It just won't. It's the opposite. It's a self love no no. So, yeah, those are the ones that I could remember. I think, oh my God, it's been a while. I talk a lot. But I feel like this was such an important episode to bring to you guys, and I really hope you liked it. I can't wait for the newer season of this podcast, because soon we have the third season coming up, and I feel like these podcast episodes have been a little, a little something of what that's gonna look like. Sorry. Especially today's episode, I feel like I just feel so grateful and blessed that I get to talk about these things and show up for you guys and spread this message of self-love and empowerment and self-leadership and all these things. Like, you have no idea how grateful I am for you guys for being here, listening, sharing, and all of it. Like, thank you so much. Thank you for listening to today's episode. As always, you can share with your friends. I think this is definitely a good message, a good episode to share with your friends. I'm sure someone needs it in your life. You can also follow the show if you haven't already, to make sure that you don't miss out on the weekly episodes coming out every Thursday. And you can follow me on Instagram. Everything is going to be down below. And that is it, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you very, very soon. Bye.